Hey friend, so I wanted to talk about why the zero waste movement pretty much set me up for failure. And I could get into all of the problems with zero waste. I think overall, there is good and bad within the zero waste movement, obviously. I think there is so much good that comes out of the zero waste movement, encouraging people to be conscious of their consumerism and to reduce their plastic consumption. I think all of that is amazing. But there's been a lot of problems with it, and I'm not gonna get into all of the problems within the zero waste movement today, but I'm more so gonna be talking about my experience within it and how I failed at zero waste. So disclaimer, I'm gonna be talking about like perfectionism within the zero waste movement, which is not healthy and very toxic. So if any of that is like triggering for you, I'll see you in the next video. Perfectionism. Overall, when I was finding zero waste online, it was about literally having a trash jar full of trash, and that trash was a year's worth of trash, it was 2 years worth of trash, it was even 3 years worth of trash. It set you up for failure. Not to mention all of the privilege that goes with having a trash jar and being able to go to bulk stores and being able to buy everything plastic free. Not everyone has access to plastic free bulk goods and plastic free food, and just plastic free living as a whole is unattainable and inaccessible for a lot of people. One of my flaws is when I really care about something, I dive head first and I just go for it. I kind of have an all or nothing mentality, which can definitely get me into trouble, and I become very hard on myself, and it's not good for my mental health at all. And I kind of did that with zero waste. From the get-go, I knew I was never gonna have a trash jar. And like today in 2022, I rarely see people having trash jars. Like let's be honest, they're just bullshit. Like, it's ridiculous to have a trash jar at this point. I'm pretty sure most people know that. And when I saw zero waste on the internet, people were perfect. People were displaying these perfect homes, these nice new jars in their pantry. But at the end of the day, I felt like I wasn't good enough because I wasn't reaching this unattainable level of perfection within the zero waste movement, which is really messed up. And that's not how anybody should feel. But that's how I was feeling. And if a movement is making people feel bad for trying, that's probably toxic and not a good movement for people to be a part of. A lot of people didn't even want to try to call themselves zero waste because of this unattainable, unrealistic way of living that was portrayed on the internet. Back then, it felt like there was either a right way or a wrong way. And if you did something wrong, you weren't a part of the movement, and there was no in between, there was no gray area. And that is so far from what sustainability is. Sustainability is all in the gray area. There's so many things that are kind of eco-friendly, but also kind of not eco-friendly. This is a lot better for the planet, but also there are definitely negatives and downsides to XYZ, and that is what sustainability is. We as humans are just trying our best here, and it's really hard. It's super hard, especially when the zero waste movement is so individualistic. And the word zero and zero waste is already implying kind of this level of perfection that really was harmful for a lot of people and for the movement overall. When you're saying something is zero waste, that means you are perfect and you are literally creating zero waste. So I know a lot of different terms and phrases are used interchangeably now. I use zero waste interchangeably with just like sustainable living, low waste, low impact, all of these different things, which I'm glad people came up with these different terms because they realized zero waste was just harmful and not helpful in the slightest. Let's briefly talk about privilege. That could be a year-long seminar talking about privilege and the zero waste movement overall. This video is barely scratching the surface on that, but of course there was a lot of privilege involved in zero waste. For one, it was whitewashed, and you pretty much only saw white women in the beginning doing zero waste, which of course is problematic in itself. Also, it made it seem like it was inaccessible for a lot of people, and it made it look like you had to be rich in order to be zero waste, which again is not true, but that's how it was portrayed online, which again is messed up. The zero waste movement also failed to mention or even acknowledge people that have been living this way for years, for decades, for centuries. People have been living sustainably for forever. And that was either because it was out of necessity or because that's just a part of their culture. Like, growing up white in America, it's a very wasteful culture. That's just how it is. It's not great. And so zero waste was this great new thing of like, oh, let's try to be eco-conscious. But people have been living that way forever. They didn't have to have a label of zero waste or eco-friendly or sustainable, but they've been living that way for forever. They didn't talk about indigenous people and how they have been stewards of the land for forever. There was so much that wasn't talked about. And there was such a lack of just education overall, and a lack of talking about how much change can be had via community. Obviously, the zero waste movement focused on what you could do as an individual, and it focused on your own individual impact, which is important, and you do have an impact as an individual. But overall, it was mainly focused on consumerism and how you were buying things, and we can't buy our way out of the climate crisis. Zero waste won't solve climate change. I think it can do a lot of good, but it's not gonna get us out of this bad situation that we're already in. So I think if there was a way they could have focused more on community and how we can get together and try to help climate change overall, I think that would have been so much more impactful. Overall, being zero waste, there's a lot of people in the movement. There's a lot of people in this zero waste community trying to do better for the planet, and that's amazing. But there is so much more we can do overall. The zero waste movement had a lot of guilt and shame encompassed in it. Things have changed over the years, and I think most people talking about zero waste are talking about imperfect sustainability. And if anyone has a trash jar, that's kind of a red flag for me at this point, because they might be promoting this imperfect, unattainable lifestyle. I think there was so much guilt around just buying anything in plastic. Like when you saw all these pictures online, when you saw these people making their own products, making all their food from scratch, never getting takeout boxes in plastic, like never getting anything in plastic, it just made you feel like crap. It made me feel like I was a bad person, and there was so much guilt and shame around everything. And let me just say, if you're gonna have a successful movement and try to create change, having anything revolve around shame and guilt is gonna be the absolute worst thing that you can do for a movement. It's just gonna make people quit. It's just gonna make people not even try. That's the reality. Especially when there's already unattainable, unrealistic standards set in place. So overall, it was just toxic. It was really toxic. And I think that was hard for me to dissect and to separate from, because I saw so much good within the movement as well. Of, like I've said a million times, trying to reduce your plastic consumption, trying to be more eco-conscious overall when you're consuming things, trying to think ethically about where things are made, how people are treated when things are made. All of these things are so important. But how they went about it was just toxic and really harmful and super problematic. So I hope on my channel I'm getting across that you don't have to be perfect. It's okay if you buy plastic. Like, I'm just about imperfect sustainability. I'm talking about my journey. I'm here for the ride, trying to share that with you. If I have any toxic anything, please call me out. It's been really hard and I don't want to really associate with zero waste. I'm still gonna be using zero waste in my titles and stuff because that's an easy keyword for people to find and that's what a lot of people search for things. But overall, I'm not really about zero waste. I don't have a pantry just full of glass jars. I'm not this zero waster that I saw in 2017. That's not me. That never has been me. But I felt like a bad person because that wasn't me. And that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm just a human. I'm just trying. And again, I think there's a quote by the zero waste chef. I'm paraphrasing this, that we need more people to try at being zero waste or being sustainable rather than having like a handful that are absolutely perfect. More change is gonna happen by people just trying. More change is gonna happen by people just being conscious of their consumerism and conscious of all of these things. I talk about sustainable swaps and sustainable living, but I think there's obviously so much more that has to be done and that needs to change overall. I just hope that I am a safe space on the internet. So I hope you guys understand why the zero waste movement set me up for failure. I mean, overall, it was pretty toxic. I just centered around perfectionism, guilt, and shame. Not a great thing. I think just talking about imperfect sustainable living is gonna be the best way to go from here on out. And one more thing, just remember, you do not have to be perfect to live sustainably. I say that at the end of my videos because no one said that when I was looking at zero waste stuff online. How they were portraying the zero waste movement online made me feel like I had to be perfect. And I am far from perfect. Woo! So yeah, that's all I got for you. If you have anything to say about this topic, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I hope you like this kind of change of video and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!